This episode of the Nerdball podcast is brought to you by Fort Meigs CrossFit. We are recording at Fort Meigs CrossFit Studios, a great space. We have a great partnership here. I appreciate them letting me use their office. If you want to know anything about all their classes they offer classes 7 days a week, any age range, any skill level. Check out fortmeigscrossfit.com. My guest today, we start the podcast talking about video games, how we met, stand-up comedy. It is a shorter episode. It's probably only about 20 minutes because at the end, we do an episode of his podcast, which is called Let's Get Quizzical. So this is a shorter podcast. I don't want to spoil his podcast by putting it out here before he can get his out. So you will hear that episode at some point. But it was good. I had an awesome time on his podcast, and just the 20 minutes that we talked like it would be a normal episode was great too. So be on the lookout for Let's Get Quizzical. You can check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. And but it was a great time, and I can't wait for you all to listen. Thanks.
This is Anthony Martinez, and you're listening to the Nerdball podcast.
This is the Nerdball podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Great. Anthony, thanks for coming on my podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
The 150th episode.
That's insane.
Yeah, man. You were saying before, we were talking a little bit before the podcast about it, and it does seem like it happened very slowly and fast at the same time.
Yeah. Were you initially doing like one episode a week?
So it was it was one episode with my buddy, and it was about, I think, like 20-ish episodes we did, and then he couldn't do it anymore. And then it was just like I recorded whenever, and it was like there was never a set date. Sometimes it'd be like one a week, sometimes it was 3. It just, because it was audio, it's so much easier to edit audio than video. So it was just however it happened, it happened. And then after a while, I'm like, well, if people are like, if I'm serious about this and people are going to want to listen, I need to make it certain days a week so people can count on it being this day. And then when I miss a week or something, if I'm on vacation, I feel bad about it. And then I plan to like, it's easier now because I have more episodes, but like just put in old episodes, to re-listen to them or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, at the beginning it was just whatever. But I think that's just life in general. Like, this is our first kid, which we're doing whatever we can to make it survive. And then after that, you kind of get in the groove, right?
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
So I think by myself, it's probably been 2 years. I got to look exactly. But probably altogether it's been 3. But yeah, by myself it's been 2, which, and just adding little things here or there, or changing things up, or I changed music up. I got the new logo, even this new earpiece that I was excited to have because I feel professional, So this stupid podcast, it's but all these little things along the way you just add, and you try out things, right, and get through. So yeah, but how are you doing, man? You have a bunch of kids now, I feel like.
Yes. Just had my 3rd kid last month.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's been insane. It was funny because I was picking up one of my kids, my oldest kid, from preschool.
Yeah.
And I was talking to his teacher, and I was like, yeah, I feel like we're finally getting where we need to go. And then I get home, and like one of my kids are sick, and then nothing is getting done. And just like, I thought we were where we needed to be, and not even close now, I guess.
Well, that's always an ebb and flow, right? You're gonna feel great one day and then feel horrible for a month, and then it'll get back on track. Yeah. Now, I've always heard, I only have 2 children, but I always heard if you're gonna have 3, you can have as many because it feels the same. But I don't know if that's the case or not.
That's what I've heard. Since I only have 3 at the moment, I can't say for sure. But this is definitely like 2. I thought was pretty rough, but after like a month, it was fine. Mm-hmm. But also, we were like potty training the oldest one right when we had the other one.
Okay.
But now it's like I never feel like I'm under control of anybody.
I tell you what, all these little milestones, and now like every time you have a kid, it just restarts stuff, and you're like, all right, well, they're gonna be out of diapers. Well, here's one more. All right, well, we got to push that back 3 years,
Yeah.
But it's cool. I mean, I wanted so many kids, but I knew as soon as we had my daughter, like, it was, well, we have one of each, so we're probably not going to have any more.
Yeah.
Are you guys, what do you guys think? You guys still want to have more? Or?
It's probably like, if it happens, it happens.
Okay.
But we're not, at the moment, we don't plan on trying for any more, but sure, that'll change once we kind of get a little more under control.
And you have all boys?
Yes, all
Okay,
boys.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, she came from a family of 6 girls. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and pretty much her whole side of the family is like all girls.
Yeah.
So they were kind of shocked when we had 3 boys. Up until probably right before we had the third one, she's like, I still can't believe we had boys.
Yeah. What about your family?
It's like
Is it
kind
mixed?
of mixed.
Okay.
Like I have 2 sisters and a brother, so
Okay.
we're completely split down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That is, I guess you lucked out in that aspect. You know, to me, it doesn't really matter, but I know everyone's like, oh, you're a man, you want to have all these boys, you know, but I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm not like a huge like sports person, so it's not like I don't do all of like the stuff that like, oh, I can't wait to get my son into this or that. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever they want to do, I'll support them.
I'm a huge sports person. And I feel the same way though. Like, hey, whatever you want to do, I would just. My son is giant, and I told my wife, I go, we're gonna end up with like the biggest piano player or something, just because that's just the way it's gonna be. But they're both into sports, and naturally, because I coach everything, so they're gonna want to be into that. Mm-hmm. I forget what the question I was gonna ask. So now you obviously you were on a podcast before. We met through comedy, and we've kind of stayed in touch, and then we both kind of dropped out of that. It just doesn't fit into what we're doing. What are you like super into now? Like what are your, like, do you have any hobbies? I know you have 3 kids and you have a job and it's hard to like find any bit of time. Like when you do find time, what do you like to do?
Yeah. So, video games are kind of what I like, but the problem with that is most of the time I want to play like a group video game.
Yeah.
Where it's more fun to play with people and nobody's ever around. Cause it's like, I'm free at like 10 p.m. to like 12 p.m. Is everybody's asleep? Okay.
You're like, no, everybody has jobs, man. We gotta go. What games do you like to play?
So because I don't play with anybody, I've been playing Hades for a while.
Wait, what's Hades?
Hades, it's a roguelike game. Basically, you're Hades' son, and like you're trying to escape hell, basically. And you can get different weapons and like different upgrades. So pretty much every time you try to escape hell, you get cool things.
Yeah.
You can get different upgrades and stuff, and then you die, you start back from the beginning. And
is that on your computer?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's on like all the consoles.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, like a lot of Fortnite.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old and I like to play together. He likes to play Madden, which is fine. I grew up playing some Madden, but I liked NCAA football the best. Yeah. And I play that all the time when they had it, but they haven't had one since 2014. And but he likes to play Madden on like super easy. Like he at halftime of the game he was playing yesterday, he was winning 102-4.
So how do you even get 4 points?
Well, this is how he for whatever reason, like he'll do a run play or something, and then he just runs backwards because he likes to run backwards, and sometimes he just doesn't get out of it, so they sack him, and he gets a safety. Okay. So yeah, a halftime 102-4. And to me, it's not interesting. I told him, he says, I'm so good at this. I go, bud, you got to up that skill level a little bit, man.
Yeah, you are good at playing this specific way. Yeah.
But he enjoys it. And I remember, so he asked me to play, and I play Madden sometimes. I don't really like it. But I remember as a kid, like all I wanted to do was have my dad play video games with me. Yeah. So I would ask him, like, what video games do you like? And he's like, well, I like I would play like a helicopter game. So I'd go to like Family Video and try to find like a helicopter video game so he could play with me. And he would for a little bit, but he just didn't grow up playing video games. So that wasn't his thing, right? But we play the Fortnite. I have so much fun. It's just not like me and him playing together, but just the game in general. I just like it. I know it's not like, it's a lot of kids his age that play. Also, I've been getting into watching people play Fortnite, like on Twitch, which is another fun thing, which I would make fun of my son for doing it, but it's fun. It's entertaining.
I always get frustrated when I hear people like, oh, how could you watch other people play video games? So you watch people play sports.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
You watch people do anything. Like watching people who are good at it or are very entertaining is just, it's easy to do.
And you don't even, I'm learning too, you don't have to be good. Like you can be okay at the video game, but if you're funny or you commentate well or you're just you're personable, like that is a big part of it too when you're watching Twitch or TikTok live or something,
Yeah.
But it is fun. And now we'll have a few that we watch together that if they're on, like, hey, Mateo, come check this out. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, video games are so much fun. And again, it is one of those things, kind of like when we did comedy. It's like, well, it's way over here on the list of priorities, So when you do get time to do it, it's like even more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so I used to play League of Legends a bunch, which is like a PvP game where you're facing. It's like two teams of 5, and you're facing each other.
Okay.
And the problem with it is when I was younger and I had free time, I could get good at the game. Like I played it enough to where I was always like I felt like I could usually play well.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, I get to play maybe 3 games a week, if that, or maybe like 5 games a month, and then I'm like awful playing it, and then I'm like, why am I even wasting my time? I get like 2 games that I could do, and then I end up wasting my time with this by
that. And is it fun because you're not doing well? Like, is it even like, I'm sure it's still some level of fun, but you're trying to win, right?
It can be depending on like there's different modes that are like less serious. That if I don't do well in those modes, I'm like, it's fine. I'm still enjoying it. But other times it's like not fun at all. You just keep dying over and over. Just, man, why am I wasting my time? And that's how I felt with comedy towards the end, where I was doing stand up like maybe once a month, once every other month, and it felt like I was doing stand up for the first time every time I went up, and I was like, oh, this is. I'm spending like 2 hours just to come here to do bad.
To make 4 people laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is one thing I would eventually like to get back into. I think it's fun. But I think what helped me, what jump-started the other thing was comedy. Jump-started me like wanting to be a public speaker and like doing these things. I did a speaking engagement with my mom, and we talked about drugs and alcohol. Like, that's what started it, because before that, like if you were to ask me in high school, like I didn't even want to talk to anybody besides my friends, like I would never want to get on stage. And I think that jump started it. So I owe a lot of, of what I'm doing now to starting comedy, and just being a more confident person in general, so which is awesome. Well, you're here for a specific reason, and we talked about this, and so I want to get into that. So you have a new podcast called Let's Get Quizzical.
Yes.
You had another podcast that I was on, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but when you weren't doing it anymore, my thought in my head was like, it's probably hard to not only have time to watch a movie, make notes on the movie, but also have somebody else do that too.
Yeah, and then it was like I was doing it, and maybe this was something that was probably not a good idea, but I was kind of watching like the analytics too much, and then it was like the first couple, maybe 4 or 5 episodes, it was like 10 plays, which I was like, that's fine. Cool, I'm okay with that. And then it just like slowly started dwindling down. And then like I posted like 2 episodes, and I think maybe I was the only person who listened to each one. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so then it's that. And on top of that, sometimes it's hard to just get somebody to want to watch a movie. Even it's a movie they pick, but they just, I don't know.
I totally understand it. And as far as analytics, I'll look at it too. And some days are better than others. Like I was stuck for YouTube. I was stuck at 55 subscribers for a while, and I just looked today. I have 59 for some reason. So like all these little things, it does get frustrating because you do put so much time into it, and it costs money more than anything. I don't make money doing this. But I always tell people, I just talked to Perrysburg High School students Friday about creating a podcast, and I said, number one thing is you got to love to whatever you're talking about, because you're going to do it and no one's going to listen to it for a long time, possibly. Yeah. So that's why I always tell people. But it was a cool, like I liked it. It was cool. It was fun to do, and I never watched a movie like that before, where I was like, oh, I need to take notes, or I got to do this, which made, I think, I had already watched it, but it made it a little more enjoyable because I was trying to like, well, what cool little nugget can I pull out of this? So it was a cool like exercise to do, right? I mean, I'm not gonna like do it for a living, but it was fun to do, you know. So I appreciate you having me on that podcast. But now, like I said, you have Let's Get Quizzical. which is how long have you been doing this, or how many episodes do you have now?
So I have 2 out,
Okay.
and then I'll have 2 more this month. So I'm kind of doing like twice a week or twice a month.
Perfect.
And basically, I just have someone tell me a couple of their like favorite topics, and then I do a little quiz on those topics. But it's mostly trying to just figure out why do you like this, and kind of get more information on it. The questions aren't supposed to be like the hardest questions I could find. It's supposed to be like, hey, this is something fun I found about this. Let me see if you know about it, and then kind of learn more about that fun part of the topic.
I do like that aspect of it because it isn't just a quiz show. It's like, all right, here are your topics. We're going to questions. Why, like you said, why do you like this? Or how come you knew this answer? And this question was very similar. You didn't know this answer. So it is getting more information, which I'm all about. I mean, that's what this podcast is, just getting more information. Sure, it's cool. So let's get into that. I will let you introduce your podcast like you would, and then we'll just have an episode of your podcast right now.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks to my guest, Anthony Martinez, for coming on the podcast today. Like I said at the beginning, it was a shorter one, but I appreciate him coming on. I had a lot of fun talking about video games and how we met doing stand-up comedy, what led that to where we're at today doing these podcasts. So again, that podcast will come out. It's called Let's Get Quizzical. It will come out. I just did not want to put it out here. I didn't think it was right for me to put it out first when it's his podcast. So once it airs, it'll air here too. I'm assuming at some point I'll need to fill an episode because I'm sure my kids and I and our family is just going to be doing stuff. So we'll make a spot for it. Again, it's called Let's Get Quizzical. He has 2 episodes out now, so please subscribe to his podcast. Check it out. They're great episodes. I listen to both of them. So it's fun. They're funny. It's not just questions. He asks you why you like certain topics that you offer. So it's a good podcast. So again, as always, I record out of Fort Meigs CrossFit Studios. Thanks to them for letting me be here. They have classes for all ages, 7 days a week, all skill levels. Check out fortmeigscrossfit.com. And thanks to Cuttlefish Graphics for the logo, Real JP Multimedia for all this help starting this podcast, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Big Daddy Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.